Now we're going to talk about what we do at month end. And this process is usually conducted by the team leader when there is a team leader. If there is no team leader, then the parent would be doing this or the family member. So what we're going to first start with is the supporter invoicing piece of the whole support system that's in place around the person at the center. So I'm going to start, the way I'm going to do this is I'm just going to walk through the steps, and you're going to see, pieces of the checklist, and you'll also see pictures of the documents that are used at during the month end process. Okay, so all right, so supporter invoicing. So the first step that we need to do here is to, as the team leader, is to solicit the invoices from the supporters, and we want these things to arrive in the inbox of the team leader either the last day of the month or the first business day of the month. So then what's necessary is we need to be able to check the bank account to make sure that the amount of money that is required each month is actually in the account. So there's X number of dollars that are available through the funding sources, and there may be one or two or even three sources of funding. You just have to make sure that all of the money that's required is in the bank account. And if there isn't enough to cover the invoices, then you need to add money to that account. So make a transfer from another personal account or whatever needs to be done to get the money in there to cover the invoices from the supporters. Then we need to go and check the bank account to make sure that last month's invoices have been registered into the account so that that amount has been deducted. I've seen it happen where for some reason a supporter has not received their money, and so that money that should have been taken out of the account was still sitting in there giving a false balance, and that's not a good thing. So you want to go in, make sure that the bank account is up to date and all of last month's transfers have been taken out, or last month's payments to the supporters have been taken out. And there's a tracking form to keep track of all of that movement of money in and out of the account. And that tracking form is kept in the various funding source file, and I'll be talking about that a little later. The next thing after receiving the invoices is to check for accuracy. These are Excel documents, so it should be very simple to be able to check the numbers, make sure that they correspond to the scheduled number of hours that the supporter was supposed to be working during the month. You know how much they're being paid per hour. You should be able to check to make sure that the formulae are in the document to make sure that the document is calculating the correct numbers. However, frequently, for some reason, people don't really know how to manage their Excel documents, and they lose the formulae. The numbers are not correct, and they're either overcharging or undercharging. The numbers are not correct. So it's up to the team leader to make sure that those numbers are correct. The onus really is on the supporter to make sure that the numbers are correct. Their numbers, they should know that their numbers are correct, but frequently they're not. So the team leader must check for the formulae, the number of hours, the amounts, the invoice number, make sure that the invoice number is a new invoice number. Those kinds of things need to be checked. Then if there are any changes that need to be made, if there's any inaccuracies there, the team leader will need to contact the supporter and make sure that they make the changes and reissue that invoice. Make sure that everything is correct. And then once that has all been corrected, if it needed to be corrected, everything is fine, then the team leader will print off the supporter invoices. And all of the invoices are saved in one account. I happen to call my file invoices. It's under Laura's stuff. There's a file folder called Laura's stuff. And then under Laura's stuff, there's a file called invoices. So all of the invoices are filed in there, and they all are saved with a consistently formatted file name. So the way I do it is I file it under the name of the supporter who is issuing the invoice plus the date of the invoice. So if it's for the month of August, I put August of 2015, and then I put the invoice number beside that. So it would look like Sally Jones, August 2015, invoice 001. And then after all of that is done, you've saved everything, everything is fine. Then you need to tally everything up, and you need to compare that tally to the amount of money that's available in the bank. So the bank balance needs to be able to compensate for that amount of invoicing. And then it's payday. So we use e-transfers to pay our supporters. So you just do that through your bank account. Just issue an Interact e-transfer. You've got to set up each of your supporters and in as a recipient, and then each month when you are ready to pay the invoice, you just make a transfer. There is a cost to doing that, but in my mind, the cost is well worth it to know that your supporter is paid and the task of paying them is off your desk. Once the transfer has been completed, then you need to record the confirmation number. Like once you've sent the e-transfer and it's confirmed that it has gone to your recipient, you get a confirmation number. That confirmation number needs to be recorded on the invoice. And then once it has been accepted, the transfer has been accepted by the recipient, then the confirmation receipt needs to be printed and attached to their invoice to prove that they have received that invoice, and that's for auditing purposes, or sorry, that they've received that amount of money. And then what we need to do is to determine the source of the funding for each invoice and note that on the front of the invoice somehow. So for me, I have two sources of funding: direct funding and passport funding. So if an invoice is being paid through passport, I just put a PP on the front of the invoice. And if it's being paid by direct funding, I put IF, individualized funding, for the other one. And then the invoice is filed in the appropriate file folder depending on the funding source. So say, for instance, you had $2,000 in invoicing, and you had $1,000 from one source of funding and $1,000 available through another source of funding, then $1,000 worth of invoicing would be filed in the one file, and the $1,000 coming from the other funding source would be filed in the other folder. And hopefully one day we have one funding source, so we don't have to do that. But if there's ever an audit, the auditor is not going to want to go through both of your funding sources. They'll only want to be going through one.